met a gypsy.
Cooper's last win, for me, made him one of the greatest Supercross racers of all time. Instantly.
Was that was the Foxboro?
Yep.
Yeah.
That win to me was like just elevated him to one of the greatest in Supercross.
What was it about that?
Because he's not the fastest guy.
Yeah.
Like it's so underrated, man.
Yep.
Like, and I kind of said it in a way when I was talking to Marv, but like I think you have a generation of guys that are in the sport that only win based on speed.
Yep.
And there's like this entire art of the sport that has been lost because all of these guys are waiting until their bike feels amazing and they can go and win from pillar to post.
Yep.
And that's great. But
Webb is
this dude that is doing, he's like the one guy in Supercross that can win not being the fastest guy.
Yep.
And it is insane to me.
Over and over.
The way that he does it. And it's so underappreciated and it's so underrespected. And like Chase Sexton, for example, this season, I fucking love Chase. I talk to him all the time. I'm always sending him messages of like, great ride. You know what I mean? Like, I like the dude. He's a good person.
I love the fact that literally, like, as much heat as he's taken for the front tire and the crashes last year, for the speed challenges this year, that dude owns it every single time.
And he always shows up.
And just goes back and grinds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's there. He is there. He's been there all this year. Impressive.
So he's a guy where, like, I hate using him as an example, but it's like he's struggling with the bike and he just hasn't had the speed. So it's almost, and he hasn't really consistently won this year, right? But I just feel like saying, or if I was in his camp, I'd be like, bro, you don't need to be the fastest guy to win a Supercross race. All the guys you've watched do it in your life have, except for maybe Dunge. Dunge was the other guy that won races when he wasn't the fastest. But there's really not that many. Yep. But it's insanely possible. Dude. And the guy's won 2 championships being that guy. And it's like nobody wants to focus their attention on. It's always the bike isn't good or I'm not going fast enough. It's like, let's stop having that as the predominant narrative in this sport. Let's start looking at Cooper Webb and being like, how does this little motherfucker win?
It's ridiculous, right?
Every single, every season when he's not he has figured out a way to win. So there's something there. Let's stop with the bike and the I'm not fast and I'm not he's making it happen. And I think that Foxboro for me was just like
amazing race.
Top tier. He shouldn't have won that race. He shouldn't have clawed that points lead back. Everybody else would have been like, okay, Jets just winning this championship. And that fucking dude just digs and digs and doesn't need to be the fastest. And I don't think he gets praised enough for his ability to win, not being the fastest guy.
So interesting piece there. He, in his 2 championship years, he won the most of anybody in those seasons. In 15 of his 25 wins came in those years.
How many fastest laps did he have?
But so the interesting part, so the fastest lap thing, the reason I actually kind of know it's, and I can't remember if I'm getting which one was fastest qualifier versus fastest in the main. I know it was 6 and 8, and I just can't remember which one they go to. But the reason I know that was because of Foxboro, because he came out and was fastest qualifier.
Yeah.
And I looked it up and I was like, holy shit.
That never happens.
Like he doesn't and I was thinking like maybe he's been fastest qualifier like 20 times, but it was like 6 or 7 times. And I'm like, dude, that's
special.
Yeah. This is a special day. Like it's clear that he's coming back after the break and just is like game on. And then he goes out in the main and he gets the fastest lap. And it's the first time he's won and also been fastest qualifier and fastest in the main. It's the first out of all of his 25 wins. It was the first time ever he had been fastest qualifier, fastest in the main, and won it, right? So all of his previous wins, he wasn't the fastest qualifier and or the fastest in the main, which just tells you, like, that's just him doing great racecraft. And there's 2 pieces. It's funny. I always think about the racecraft in 2 ways. One is during a race, right? Like, where do you start at the white line? Where are you at the end of the first lap? Guys that can maneuver in that first lap.
Well, he's been brilliant at that recently.
Yeah.
Like even I can't remember what round it was, but
Seattle.
Yeah. Oh, he was behind Jet, like
Yeah.
way behind it. He
Yeah.
would have been maybe in like 11th or something if I'm just guessing.
Seattle, he entered the first turn, give or take how you want to count it, in like 15th. Literally by the end of the first turn, he was in 8th.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the first lap, he was in like 4th.
Yeah.
And then he just
That was brilliant.
Yeah, it was it was like Cooper Webb at Cooper Webb's best, right? It's just one of those ridiculous ones. And then made one of his best podium comments ever, right? But yeah, he does it, the racecraft during the day, and just, the racecraft during the race, absolutely incredible. But there's also a broader racecraft thing during the day, which is like, there's only a few guys that can get away with not doing great in qualifying and progress. Like Kenny is just known, like AP, like AP in qualifying. Like any fantasy person that bases any choice off of AP's qualifying is like, Blessinger's just horrible. Same with Barsha. Like those two guys, Kenny, they get away with it and they still perform in the night show. The reality is, like, your day starts with that first qualifying session, and you can see the guys that just build.
It's crazy how important it is. That was one of the things that was the most surprising to me in like 2011 when I first moved to America and first watched the Supercross. I was like, holy shit, if you're not on in the first practice, like you're having a long day. Like it's really, every single thing counts way more than the average person gives it credit for.
Yeah. And I think some of it is like the mental aspect of it, like just builds, right? Anybody that doesn't necessarily have the absolute supreme mental toughness probably is going to be impacted by a so-so qualifying session more so. But yeah, you see it in the numbers. The numbers bear it out. Like you can tell when somebody's on it. I can like at the end of qualifying every race, I'll process the lap and segment stuff, and I can pretty easily see the people that are probably going to do better in a main event. Now, granted, you get crashes in the first turn and, external circumstances that just happen, and so those people don't. But the reality is, like, you can see somebody that's having a good day. You can see it after the first and second sessions in qualifying, and you can see it building for them. They've just got an advantage, and as long as they put it together in the main, then yeah.
And I just think there is like this mental thing, and I think that's what I see with some guys is like, if they're not the fastest, they just don't think they can win.
Yeah,
and it's
see it in the starts.
Yeah, to me, it's like Cooper just seems like he's the one dude on the track that always thinks he can win, and like
incredible,
he does. Like he wins when he technically shouldn't win.
Yeah,
and it might win him a third championship.
Dude, Foxboro, what your point, Foxboro, I did the film room that week on the following week on his race, and it's just, he was best in one segment, and in the other ones is where he just rode so...
What segment was he fastest in?
It was the long rhythm lane. It was on the booth side of the building, opposite of the pits.
Yeah.
That segment there, and you could see it in the film, like you could visually see him, he would gap the guys. Again, it was like a 0.2 or 0.3 advantage that he just was really fast right over the tabletop off.
Yeah.
He was just on it. And he had the advantage there. Chase had the advantage in the sand section. The problem was it didn't set him up for passing opportunities, and so he stuck.
And he just
did
the same
forever.
thing over and over and over and over.
God, I wanted to ask him why. Like when I heard him.
That's why you need comms. Like comms would change that situation. Like if you had someone be like, dude, fuck Kenny right now. Like seriously, I know he's your friend, but like let's go.
He's not your friend for these 20 laps. Let's go.
There's a lot of money,
minutes.
dude.
Yeah.
I think at Seattle as well, just to stay on Cooper's nuts for a minute.
Yeah.
The decision making that he made with Chase that close. Like Chase could have very easily won that race.
Oh yeah. He was faster.
Very easily.
Yep.
And Cooper made the right decisions at the exact right times.
Yep.
And that's like, again, you don't need to be fast. Like if you're making the right decisions that's like quarterback shit. Like he quarterbacked that win. He wasn't just a wide receiver that just flew down the field and caught the ball in the end zone. Like he systematically picked apart that racetrack and his competitors to win that race. And I mean, he did the same thing again at Foxboro almost,
Yeah. And Seattle, he admitted to he had arm pump early.
That was
right?
one of the best booth calls.
Yeah, RC called it early. He's like, he's got,
dude.
That, he might have some talent there.
He might know some shit.
Yeah, he might have seen
some stuff. For all
some
the
stuff.
people out there hating on Ricky, he might actually know some shit.
I mean, God, amazing call on RC's part. And then for Webb to, dude, phenomenal to like just maintain that lead and just the strategy and the last 2 laps there with Chase just hounding him. That's the stuff of Webb. Yeah. It kind of reminds you your QB analogy. It's like Brett Favre. Like that dude used to just know how to win races, win games, right? Like he would just run around until somebody was free. Like you just knew the game wasn't over until the actual last second ticked off the clock when Favre was playing, and that's coming from a Patriots fan over here. So Webb just in Seattle, amazing, Foxboro, amazing. You just got to see why he's in the hunt still, right?
Yeah,
I am concerned. The numbers don't help on the hard pack tracks, and Denver. Like anybody that's going to bet against Tomac not winning in Denver has got to be crazy. And it's just so hard packed there, and that's not going to favor Coop. And then Salt Lake's no different. Like that track is super hard packed. So I'm a little bit nervous.
What's the numbers say around hard pack track with Coop?
I'm going to butcher it off, but it's like he averages like a 5th or 6th or 4th or 5th or something on a hard pack. And then he's got more like a podium 2nd, 3rd when he's on your East Coast, you're more prototypical East Coast. And I mean, he said it. Glendale's the one where it's like really noticeable. It's like he's averages 7th or 8th there. If you look at it this year, like he just was a normal. So it's great. He was just normal, 7th grade. It was like top 10, like amazing, right? But the hard pack tracks aren't his thing. So I'm nervous for him just in that regard. But man, it's Cooper Webb. Like you can't ever count the guy out. Like if I'm Jet, the last person on the track I want to be going up against is Cooper Webb.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.